Discover the incredible moment a janitor's daughter, just 17, saves the day when all seems lost. Mia Martinez stood at the edge of the crowded high school hallway, her heart hammering in her chest. All around her, students were buzzing with excitement about the upcoming fundraiser for veterans, shouting ideas, and trading dreams while she felt the weight of her family's reality pressing down like a heavy hand. Her father, Juan, had spent the better part of his life scrubbing floors, trying to make ends meet. The sight of him, kneeling on the cold tiles, reminded her of their struggle against a world that didn't always care. They were a hard-working family, but dreams felt like luxuries. As Mia walked home, her mind flickered with thoughts of college, of a life far away from their small town. Suddenly, she heard whispers from a group of neighbors gathered outside the local coffee shop. It was the cherished spot where her father's friend, Mr. Ruiz, brewed coffee and opened his doors wide to the community. A lifeline. Yet, today, there was panic in the air. Rising costs threatened to close that corner store for good. The thought crushed Mia's hopes, twisting her stomach in knots. Not Mr. Ruiz, she thought, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. The implications echoed in her mind: if they lost that shop, they'd lose more than coffee. When Mia tried to share her frustration with her friends, they shrugged, scrolling through their phones, oblivious to their privilege. "It's just a coffee shop, Mia. You'll find another place." They didn't understand. Her community mattered. It was family. The isolation clawed at her spirit as she walked away, more determined but feeling the creeping doubts: did anyone truly care? Not long after, the fundraiser for veterans was at risk too. Eager to prove she could do something, Mia came up with an audacious plan: a bake sale and talent show. With less than a week to pull it off, she poured her heart into organizing everything. The kitchen of her small apartment was filled with the sweet smell of cookies, laughter from her little brother, and determination rhyming through every ingredient she gathered. But disaster struck. On the day of the event, storm clouds gathered, dark and heavy. Ingredients went missing. Everything began to feel unraveling, like the frayed edges of an old blanket. The rain poured, washing away hope as Mia stood under the leaky roof of the talent show stage, heart racing. Deep doubts crammed her mind. People weren't showing up, and despair had her doubting if they even mattered at all. Then, in the midst of it all, a familiar face appeared in the crowd, of figures seldom seen, but somehow they were here. Mr. Ruiz, somehow lifted by love for his community, stepped up with a supportive smile, rolling up his sleeves. "We're all in this together," he said, igniting a flicker deep in Mia's chest. It inspired her, urging her to rally her neighbors. They poured into the rain and laughter broke out, a delicious rebellion against their struggles. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue with every ounce of grit Mia had. She stood before the crowd. With her heart pounding full of hope, she unleashed her words, inviting them to rise with her. Would they heed her call? As determination filled the air around them, it ignited into something bigger than her. What was at stake? Was there a community willing to fight? But just as she envisioned a bright path forward, new challenges loomed. Would her dreams endure the test of sacrifice? As her voice cracked under the weight of expectation, one thought resonated loud and clear: could she truly save the day when everything spun out of control? As the rain eased and hearts lifted, Mia stood poised, grasping the fragile threads of hope, believing they could weave a future together. But would love and determination enough to overcome the waves of uncertainty? Mia's voice wavered, warmth igniting in her chest as each student began to nod, whispers of encouragement circling through the crowd like a gentle breeze. There was something about Mr. Ruiz's belief that stirred a hunger in her, a desire to push through the storm that battered their small community. Looking up, she noticed the rain had finally eased to a gentle drizzle. With her breath steadying, she exclaimed, "This is our chance. Together, we can turn this day around." A spark ignited in the eyes of her neighbors, their loyalty to the cause shimmering like rays of sun breaking through the clouds. Suddenly, one of her friends, Jess, stepped forward. "What do you need, Mia?" "I'll help," she said, her voice stronger than before. Encouraged by Jess's enthusiasm, others began to chime in, pledging to contribute baked goods or sign up for acts. The idea of community rallied them closer, knitting together new friendships through laughter and shared purpose. Every moment mattered. They scrambled into action, the stage bustling with excited chatter and hasty preparations. Mia felt the pulse of the crowd, the air practically buzzed with energy. They were fighting for more than just a fundraiser, they were fighting for their home. As the clock ticked down, kiddos raced around with trays of cookies, older teens practiced their acts, and laughter echoed against the walls. Mia's heart soared as she caught a glimpse of her dad peeking in from the door, his wearied eyes now bright with optimism. "Wow, Mia!" he whispered, his words bubbling with pride. "Look at everyone coming together." The makeup of the show shifted, transformed from mere performances into showcases of talent and resilience. A shy girl who usually sat alone had become the opening act, singing a touching tune that captured the spirit of their struggles. As they wove their talents into the show, stories began to unfold, stories of hope, love, and sacrifice. Mia's spirit soared higher, urging people to not just watch but engage, but as the evening progressed, shadows crept back in. Just as the first act finished, a strange figure slipped into the back of the crowd, eyes scanning the room with undeniable authority. Mia felt a surge of anxiety knot her stomach. The local landlord. If he was here, then it could only mean one thing: trouble was brewing. As he approached the stage, a chill swept over Mia, freezing her pulse. She couldn't let the shadow of doubt overshadow their hard work. She pushed down the panic rising within her, gripping the front of the stage in defiance. All their efforts were on the line. "Excuse me," his voice rang out, surprisingly calm but heavy. "What do you think you're doing here?" Mia squared her shoulders. "We're raising money for our veterans and for our community." Gasps erupted from the crowd. Not one soul had expected this. The tension hung thick. Mia's heart raced. Was this how it would end? Would their dreams resolve into nothing but a memory? With the eyes of her neighbors all upon her, she knew this was the moment that could either make or break everything. Could she face the landlord and persuade him to lend the coffee shop and this community one last lifeline? The silence lingered, pregnant with uncertainty, 1,000 thoughts racing across Mia's mind. She couldn't falter now. She took a deep breath, and felt the weight of every hopeful gaze behind her, urging her to fight for their future. As her resolution solidified, a statement bubbled forth from her lips, one she hardly expected herself: "We might not have much, but we have heart, and that's worth fighting for." What happened next could change everything or lead to their downfall. Would this courageous stand move the landlord, or would it crumble beneath the pressure? The crowd held its breath, waiting for the verdict that could decide their fates. The room felt suffocating. Mia's words hung in the air, electrifying, cold and warm all at once. She locked eyes with the landlord, trying to gauge his reaction. Would her defiance spark a fire, or would it extinguish their hopes? He stood there, unmoving, as if turned to stone. For a heartbeat, it seemed inconceivable. The crowd shifted uneasily, clinging to their anticipation. She could almost hear their hearts beating in sync with hers, a collective drum of courage and fear. Finally, the landlord cracked a thin-lipped smile. "Heart. That one T save you from the laws and regulations. You think a couple of baked goods and some songs will fix our community's issues?" His confident sneer felt like a knife twisted in Mia's gut. But she had come too far to back down now. Her hands gripped the edge of the stage, steadying herself against the tide of doubt. "It's not just the goods or the talent. It's what we've built together. We care for each other, and we're willing to fight for our home." The cheers that rippled through the crowd surprised Mia. People were rallying, rising as one, their voices intertwined with strength. The landlord's expression flickered, confusion mingling with annoyance. The noise only grew, swelling like a wave, crashing against his disdain. "You think this will change anything?" he shouted over the rising volume, now punctuated by laughter and applause. Mia could see his authority wavering, felt the energy shifting. This was her chance. "If you care just a tiny fraction about this town," Mia shot back, "you'll see that it's not all about money. It's about community. And if we can show that we believe in each other, maybe you could believe in us too." As her voice rang out, a contagious spark ignited across the faces in the crowd. Heads bobbed in agreement. Tears glistened in some eyes, the emotion palpable. "Why not help us instead? We just want a chance to thrive." As if heralding her words, a teenager stepped forward, his guitar in hand. "Mia's right. Without this coffee shop, without a place for us to gather, we lose more than just a business. We lose our community, our connections." This new voice added fuel to the fire. Others joined in, chiming with stories of friendships forged over warm cups of coffee, of brainstorming sessions turned into life-changing plans, of laughter shared and tears shed. They transformed the stage into a fountain of collective memories, linked by a common thread. The landlord's frown deepened, but the wall around him seemed to crack. Mia sensed it, his uncertainty, his discomfort. It was enough to stoke her hope. "This isn't just a fundraiser, it's a lifeline," she pressed, her voice steadier now with conviction. "You have the power to help us stand together. To light a way through this storm." Silence lingered for an agonizing moment until the landlord released a chuckle, low and humorless. "You think I'm just going to hand over my property because you can sing a pretty song? You're dreaming." But Mia felt her heart pounding against her chest, daring her to continue despite the apparent futility. "Maybe you could dream with us. Just think about it." With that, she took a step back, her heart still racing, believing that she had done all she could. But was it enough? The crowd buzzed with anxiety and hope, every face uncertain yet lit by a stubborn fire. Could they actually sway him? As the landlord's lips parted to speak once more, the air thickened with anticipation. What would he say? Would he crush their spirits, or surprise them with an unexpected turn? All eyes focused on both the man who held their fate and the young girl who dared to challenge his authority, united by a stubborn resilience. It all hung in a fragile balance. The tension was palpable as the landlord's lips pressed together, indecision flickering in his eyes. For a moment, the murmurs of the crowd faded into a deafening silence, broken only by the crackle of a microphone as he leaned closer. "Your little gathering, it means nothing without a solid plan," he scoffed, but Mia could see the crack in his armor. The small but crucial wavering of his voice was unmistakable. "Then let us make a plan together," Mia exclaimed, her confidence bubbling up. "This is just the beginning. We can brainstorm ideas, host meetings, bring in experts. We just need your support." Her heart raced. This was her shot to not only save the coffee shop but to transform the lease into a true partnership for the community. The crowd erupted in murmurs of agreement, voices overlapping as people excitedly began shouting out suggestions. Someone proposed a community garden, while another suggested hosting art classes for kids. Laughter and proposals flew around the room like fireworks. As the energy built, Mia felt an electric pulse run through her. She glanced at the landlord, searching for any sign he might relent. "Listen, you'd be seen as a hero," she urged. "If you help us, if you invest in this community, imagine what could happen together. We could turn this place into something vibrant and thriving." His eyes narrowed as he inspected the crowd. The steadfast expressions of hope sent a ripple of uncertainty through him. Mia held her breath, praying her words would break the final barrier. "You think this is just about saving a coffee shop?" he said slowly, choosing his words with care. "What if the effort doesn't pay off? What then?" Mia took a step forward, her hands clasped before her. It's about more than money. It's our friendships, our dreams, our futures. What if you believe in us just a little? This town, we can make it flourish again. There was a pause, a moment that stretched like a thin thread ready to snap. She could see the gears turning in his mind. The crowd watched in breathless anticipation. Who would break first, the young girl or the jaded landlord? Behind her, voices rose, coaxing, urging him on. Feet stamped for support, and claps rang out like thunder. Then, for a fleeting instant, Mia caught a glimmer of something in his eyes, a hint of understanding. Hope. A fleeting sense of connection surged through her, sending warmth flooding into her heart. But just as quickly as it appeared, he shook his head, a mask of indifference re-establishing itself. You're asking for a lot. And what would I get in return? The crowd's energy waned, and Mia felt a knot form in her throat. Doubt crept back in like unwelcome shadows. We can pay rent. We can organize events. Return on investment doesn't have to be just about money. He held her gaze for what felt like an eternity. You're a dreamer, aren't you? He said finally. Mia straightened, meeting his steely resolve. Yes. But you could join us. You could be the person who helps us dream together. A flicker of surprise crossed his face, then a smirk crept back in. A noble ambition, but dreams don't pay the bills. With a heavy heart, Mia watched as the hope dimmed in the crowd. It felt like a deflating balloon, the air rushing out, leaving only silence in the wake. But her mind raced. What else could she say? Just at that moment, a small voice piped up from the back. What if we could prove it to him? All eyes turned toward a girl holding up a half-eaten muffin as if it were a trophy. We could host a festival. Show him what we can do together. The whisper of excitement rippled through the crowd again. Could this spark be the key to igniting a fire? Mia felt the warmth return, hope reigniting. Yes, let us organize our first community event. If we can gather our strengths, he'll have no choice but to believe in us. But would the landlord stand in their way, or see the glimmer of potential? As the crowd united behind lively chatter and ideas, Mia knew they were on the verge of something monumental. But as the landlord raised his chin, the little spark of hope faded, replaced by a heavy burden. Could they really prove themselves before time ran out? The atmosphere crackled with renewed energy, but change wasn't guaranteed. Just what price would they have to pay to secure their community's future? Mia could feel the excitement building around her as people began to brainstorm ideas for the festival. The chatter grew, layering over each other like vibrant colors, creating a tapestry of enthusiasm that she hadn't felt in days. Yet, in the midst of this rising tide of hope, she could see the landlord's expression hardening. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching with a skeptical eye. All right, you all say you want to show me what you can do, he interjected, his voice sharp. But how do you plan on pulling off a festival? You can't just shout ideas and expect results. Mia's heart pounded. This was it, her moment to step up, to lead. We can form committees, she announced, her voice firm. A planning committee to manage logistics, a marketing committee to spread the word, and a volunteer committee to gather help from everyone in the town. She looked around the room, gauging the responses. Faces filled with determination nodded in agreement, but the landlord still seemed unconvinced. You'll need permits, liability waivers, insurance. Are you equipped for that? Of course, someone shouted from the back. We have people in the community who work in legal and insurance. We can pool our resources. The landlord's brow furrowed. It was evident he was assessing each idea's validity, but Mia could also see a hint of intrigue. People are willing to help you, but why should I let you proceed? Because this coffee shop is more than coffee, Mia said, her conviction growing. It's a place for people to gather, to dream. We can bring life back to this community together. You'd be investing in more than just a festival, you'd be investing in the town's spirit. Mia's words seemed to hit the mark. A ripple of excitement surged through the crowd again, and a murmur of "we can do this" began to weave through the room. Yet still, the landlord's hostility loomed like a dark cloud overhead. "You really think it'll work?" he asked, a flicker of uncertainty breaking his tough facade. Mia stepped closer, lowering her voice. "If we don't try, this town may never see hope again. You could be the catalyst that helps us rise again. Just picture it, families laughing, children playing, all brought together by one event that you supported." For a heartbeat, his face softened, and in that instant, she saw something else: curiosity and a perhaps long-buried nostalgia for the community spirit. The pressure in the room built as silence hung in the air, demanding a decision. "I'll give you one chance," he said finally, reigniting the energy that rippled through the crowd. "But if you fail, don't expect any future favors from me." Cheers erupted, but Mia felt the weight of responsibility crash back down on her. They had one chance, and it had to matter. She would need to rally every ounce of courage and creativity she had. Before the applause died, her mind flickered back to the challenges ahead. How would they pull this off? It felt like standing at the edge of a diving board, poised to leap into an uncertain plunge. "Let us get to work," she shouted, urgency and excitement blending in her voice. The atmosphere crackled with renewed energy as they began to organize on the spot. She felt the thrill of possibility surge through her. But there was still a lingering thought at the back of her mind. What if they weren't enough? What if the challenges to come were insurmountable? As she looked into the sea of hopeful faces, she wondered just what struggles lay ahead. With the festival now a part of their shared dreams, Mia knew her journey was only just beginning. What would be the first obstacle they would face in their quest to prove they could make a difference? The next few days flew by in a whirlwind of activity. Mia and the buzz of volunteers began to organize themselves into committees, eager to tackle the daunting tasks set before them. A vivid poster of the festival was pinned above the coffee shop's counter, colorful and filled with enthusiasm, just like the people behind it. Mia felt like she was juggling hundreds of ideas while balancing the weight of expectations on her shoulders. Each committee met in different corners of the coffee shop. The planning committee gathered by the window, the marketing crew huddled in a corner booth, while the volunteers opted for the old couch near the door. The shop transformed into their war room, filled with the scent of fresh coffee and the sound of laughter that hadn't graced those walls in a long time. Every volunteer brought their own dreams and ideas, and while some wanted a carnival atmosphere with games and rides, others envisioned a more subdued gathering centered around crafts, music, and food that reflected their diverse community. As they sketched out plans, Mia felt her heart racing with every passing moment, but amidst all the excitement, a single thought gnawed at her: what if they overreached? One evening, as dusk settled over the clouds like a warm blanket, Mia sat in the shop, her fingers tapping nervously on her notes. She couldn't shake the landlord's words. "If you fail, don't expect any future favors from me." Those words echoed in her mind, binding her to a fate she was desperate to avoid. "Hey, you all right?" Sam, one of the volunteers, asked, pulling her out of her thoughts. He leaned casually against the counter, a smile lighting up his face. "You look like you just swallowed a lemon." Mia sighed, running a hand through her hair. "What if we aren't enough? What if everything we've planned falls flat?" He straightened, a look of understanding in his eyes. "You know, your passion is contagious. We all believe in this because of you. You've brought us all together." His words warmed her heart, even as doubt whispered in her ear. "Do you think we can really pull this off?" Mia asked, her voice a whisper. "Absolutely. The community is counting on us," he replied, a soft pride glimmering in his gaze. "Plus, we have each other. No one can do it alone, and we're not." The next day, the weather turned gloomy, thick clouds hovering overhead like a looming threat. The mood among the committees shifted, too. The excitement was still there, but as schedules clashed and ideas collided, frustration simmered just below the surface. Suddenly, the door swung open, and in walked the landlord, his usual stern expression darkening the room further. "I want updates." What are we looking at here? The room fell silent, each pair of eyes flickering nervously from Mia to the landlord. She swallowed hard, feeling the pressure bear down on her. With a beating heart, she stood. We're making progress. We've spoken to vendors, started planning activities, and formed partnerships with local artists. She held his gaze, searching for any hint of approval. This festival is going to show what this community really can do with your support. His eyes narrowed, skeptical. Prove to me you're making this happen. I expect real results, not just dreams. As he turned to leave, Mia felt panic rising in her chest. Wait. She called out, surprising both herself and others. If you're going to judge us on results, then I want to challenge you. He paused, turning back, eyebrows raised. Join us, she continued, her voice gaining strength. Support us, maybe even lend a helping hand. We need guidance, and if you're really interested in this community, show it. A hush fell over the room. Mia could hardly believe the words spilling from her mouth. She had pushed the landlord to the brink, and now the outcome felt heavier than she had ever imagined. Maybe the problem isn't us, she thought, feeling courage build within her. Would he accept her challenge? Or was this the moment they would tip the scales of hope into despair once more? Mia's heart raced in the stillness, the silence thick with tension. The landlord's eyes bore down on her, a mixture of surprise and curiosity etched on his face. You think I should help? He asked, his tone laced with incredulity. Yes. Mia blurted, feeling the weight of their hopes balance precariously on her shoulders. This festival could mean so much to everyone, especially if you believe in it too. Your support could rally the community in a way nothing else can. The air was heavy with anticipation as everyone watched the landlord. There was a flicker of hesitation in his eyes, maybe a hint of contemplation, but then he straightened up, his usual aloofness returning. I'll consider it. But I'm not making any promises. With that, he turned and walked out, leaving Mia engulfed in a mixture of relief and lingering uncertainty. A collective sigh escaped the room. He didn't say no, Sam said, a small smile appearing on his face. True, but he didn't say yes either, Mia replied, glancing at the committee members around her. Their faces mirrored her doubts, but within that hesitation lay a seed of hope. Days turned into a blur of late nights and early mornings. Each meeting was charged with a sense of urgency. They hashed out details, fought over ideas, and supported one another when the weight of the project felt too heavy to bear. Despite the overwhelming schedule, Mia found herself more motivated than ever. Sam's laughter became a comforting soundtrack, and as the festival date drew closer, Mia started visualizing how it might be a gathering of colors, sounds, and joy, but then the looming reality struck again as the festival day approached. Mia woke up one morning, shrouded in anxiety, the weight of all the progress and plans crashing over her like a wave. She found herself walking to the coffee shop, her hands clammy against the cool metal of the door handle. Inside, the volunteers bustled around, but Mia hardly registered the chatter. She was overwhelmed by the possibility that everything they had worked for might still collapse. Mia. Sam waved her over, breaking her out of her daze. We've got an update on the food trucks. His enthusiasm was contagious, but Mia's heart sank. Food trucks. The core of their budget was already strained, and now they might have added costs. We might need to rethink the whole plan, she murmured. If we can't keep it affordable, it might end up backfiring. Or we could showcase local talent. Maybe have some community members donate food. He was quick to counter. You know, make it more about the people. Mia pondered that for a moment. The entire festival was meant to draw the community together. That's a great idea. Excited whispers rolled through the volunteers as they rallied around Sam's suggestion. Ideas flooded in, a potluck-style feast with handmade dishes representing the many cultures in their community. The energy in the room surged, and Mia felt a spark of determined hope ignite again. This was what they wanted. A festival where everyone contributed. That evening, as the sun slowly dipped below the horizon, coloring the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink, Mia sat in a corner, watching her vision transform from mere words to action all around her. But in the depth of her heart, a persistent worry clung to her. Would the landlord come through? What if they couldn't pull it off without his backing? Just as the laughter and chatter began to ebb, a figure appeared at the entrance of the coffee shop. It was the landlord again, his stern face betraying nothing as he stepped inside. "All right," he said, startling the bustling room into silence. "I've thought about your proposal." Everyone held their breath. "What do you need from me?" Mia's pulse raced as realization dawned. They could do this. They could truly make it happen. But what would it mean to rely on him now? The question hung in the air like an unlit spark, and Mia was left wondering if this moment would change everything or unleash new challenges she had yet to envision. Mia took a deep breath, her mind racing. She felt the weight of the room's expectations pressing down on her. We need support for the festival. Funding for logistics, a space for the vendors, and maybe even help with permits." As she spoke, every word felt like a fragile promise hanging in the air. The landlord's expression remained unreadable. He surveyed the anxious faces around him, the energy shifting as hope buzzed in the atmosphere. "I could provide some resources," he finally said, his tone neutral. "But you'll need to show me that this event can draw people in. Frivolous events lose steam." A murmur rippled through the committee, a mix of excitement and apprehension. "We can show you." Sam chimed in. "We're pulling together a larger community plan. Potlucks, games, performances, everyone has something to contribute." Mia's heart lifted at Sam's words. Yes, this wasn't just another event, it was a chance to ignite local pride, a festival where every single person could have a part. "If we involve more local businesses and artists, it'll be a reflection of our community's spirit," she added, her voice growing stronger. The landlord nodded slowly, seemingly impressed by the passion lighting up Mia's features. "I'll agree to a meeting for your proposal in a week. But you need a solid plan by then." He turned to leave, the doorframe signaling both an exit and a doorway to opportunity. "Thank you," Mia called after him, her voice echoing in the growing silence of the coffee shop. Her heart soared, but beneath that joy lay a flutter of fear. Could they do it in just a week? Would they have enough time to create something worthy of his support? That night, Mia tossed and turned in bed, replaying the day's events. The thrill of potential danced in her mind, paired with the specter of doubt. What if they fell short? The success of their community, hanging precariously on her shoulders, felt too heavy. The next morning, she was met with a sea of heads bent over tables in the coffee shop, scribbling notes, brainstorming flyers, and coming up with ideas. A wave of gratitude washed over her. These people believed in this festival just as much as she did. They were ready to pour their hearts into it. "Mia." "Sam," called April, one of the volunteers. "What do you think about a community mural? We could create something that celebrates our town's history and our cultures. People would love to be part of it." "That's brilliant," Mia replied, excitement flooding her. "We could set up a space at the festival, paint, design, involve kids and adults alike." The creative atmosphere buzzed like electricity as others joined in, merging ideas into one tapestry of community artistry. Mia felt hope rise like the dawn, mixing joy and determination. Each contribution was not just a piece of the festival, it was a testament to their unity, but as the day approached, doubts returned uninvited. Would the community truly come together? Would the mural find its way into the hearts of those wandering the festival? The answer could well lie in the landlord's meeting. With that 1 week looming ahead, it was more than just planning now, it was about trust, unity, and proving to him and themselves what their town was capable of. As the group finalized their plans, Mia caught Sam's eye, tears welling up in gratitude. They could do this. What if, Mia hesitated, her voice low and contemplative, what if we asked for community stories? We could weave them into the mural, showcase who we are, where we came from. And just as the laughter bubbled again, a hesitant voice called from the back, "What if nobody comes?" Silence swept through the room, the question hanging heavy. But Mia straightened her back, ready to face the uncertainty. "Then we'll tell them who we are and why this matters." Every doubt fueled her resolve. They wouldn't just have a festival, they were ready to make history. But as the week clock ticked down, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something great, yet intensely fragile. What if they poured their hearts into this, only to lose it all? That desperation echoed as she took a final glance at their plans. What would the landlord say? Would he understand the beating heart of the community behind every brushstroke, every shared dish? As night draped over the town, Mia lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her resolve shifting. They were fighting for a moment in time, but what if it was more than just about the festival? What if it was about reigniting the very spirit of the town, and deep in her heart, a persistent thought formed: it was time to turn their uncertainty into action. But could they reach the landlord and gain his trust before it was too late? Would his final decision spark the flame they needed, or extinguish their dreams before they began? Mia woke up to the bright morning sun streaming through her window, casting a warm glow that felt almost ironic given the chaos swirling in her mind. A week. Just 1 week to turn a flicker of an idea into something tangible, something that could sway the landlord. She couldn't let this opportunity slip through her fingers. Today was the day they would really push forward with their plans. She could feel it in her bones. The coffee shop was bustling as volunteers trickled in, their laughter mixing with the aroma of fresh coffee. Mia inhaled deeply, grounding herself in the moment. She took her place at the long table, piles of papers and colorful markers sprawled out before her. Each volunteer brought new life to the plans, and as they gathered around the table, she felt the energy spiral high. "Let us brainstorm more ways to involve everyone," Mia suggested, her voice steady despite the flutter of nerves in her stomach. "We need to ensure the landlord sees how this can unite our community." April leaned in closer, excitement dancing in her eyes. "What if we have local music performances? Maybe a stage where kids can showcase what they've learned in school. Everyone loves a talent show." "Yes. That's perfect," Mia exclaimed, jotting it down. "And we can feature local artisans and their crafts too. It's all about showcasing what we have to offer." As they tossed ideas around, Mia's heart swelled. She realized this wasn't just about colors on a mural, it was about the stories and talent hidden beneath the surface of their small town, waiting to be brought to life. But just as quickly as her hope soared, a shadow loomed. What if this excitement fizzled out before the festival? It was all too easy for people to go back to their routines, forgetting the commitment they had just made. "Okay, let us form teams," she announced, snapping back to the moment. "Each team can focus on different aspects like logistics, entertainment, and community involvement." Everyone nodded with determination. Sam and April jumped at the chance to lead the entertainment team, and Mia felt a surge of confidence. They were building something together. It was real now. But when they reached the end of the meeting, a deep breath settled in the silence. Leaving the coffee shop, doubts crept back in, crawling up her spine like spiders. She caught Sam's eye. "What about the marketing? We need flyers and promotions. If people don't know, they won't come." "We'll make it happen," he reassured her, though she could hear the concern in his voice. As she turned in for the evening, Mia glanced out her window, the fading sun painting the sky in hues she had only dreamed of seeing. The weight of this festival rested on her shoulders, feeling heavier than ever. What if nobody showed up, just like one voice had echoed from the back of the meeting? The what-ifs transformed into monsters in her mind. Determined, she pulled out her phone. The first person she contacted was her elderly neighbor, Mr. Fisher. He had lived in the community for decades and had countless stories. "Mr. Fisher," she began, her fingers trembling just a tad as she texted him. "Can you share any stories about what this town meant to you? We want to include them in our mural." The response was immediate. "I'd be honored, Mia. Let us preserve our history together." As she read those words, a flicker of warmth ignited within her heart. If she could get even this small part of the community involved, then perhaps they were on the right track. Maybe they would be okay after all, but the night wasn't over yet. An email alert popped up on her screen, and it was from the landlord. Mia's heart skipped a beat. What would he say? Opening it, she held her breath as she read, "I'm looking forward to your proposal. Remember, I'm expecting results. No empty promises." Doubt surged anew. They needed to impress him, but did they even have enough time now? And as she lay back on her bed, staring at the ceiling once more, another question clawed at her insides: was this just a festival, or could it become a turning point for the whole community? Tomorrow would be a critical day, calling the community together for an initial planning meeting. Would people rally behind her, or fade into silence? Mia stood behind the makeshift podium, her heart racing as she stood before her community. The day of the festival had finally arrived, a day that felt like a lifetime in the making. The familiar smell of coffee wafted through the open doors of the beloved shop, mingling with the scent of baked goods and fresh flowers that adorned the tables. Vibrant banners fluttered in the gentle breeze, each one bearing the spirit of their collective dream, a hopeful reminder of all they had fought for together. She glanced around at the throng of people, families, friends, neighbors, all gathered for one shared purpose. There was Mr. Ruiz, his smile wide, serving coffee with a passion that radiated warmth. Children ran around with painted faces, laughter bubbling in the air. It felt electric. They had done this. They had come together against all odds to create something beautiful, and in that moment, a rush of emotion threatened to spill from her eyes. As her gaze moved through the crowd, she spotted Sam, who gave her an encouraging nod. He had become her stalwart ally, his steadfast faith in their project often grounding her when her mind began to spiral into doubt. Mia took a deep breath, feeling the energy wrap around her, a comforting blanket of resilience. It was time to speak. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice breaking slightly at first, but gaining momentum as she continued. "This festival is a testament to our community. We've rallied together to support not just our veterans but to reignite the spirit of our town." The crowd erupted into cheers, their enthusiasm charging the atmosphere. Mia felt her feet steady as she spoke about the murals, the stories of Mr. Fisher and others being woven into the fabric of every brushstroke. "Each of you has a piece of our town's heart, and today, it shines brighter than ever. This festival isn't just a moment, it's a movement. A chance to show that despite struggles, we can thrive when we unite." She noticed the landlord standing at the edge of the crowd, his arms crossed, still once skeptical, but now watching with renewed interest. Their earlier exchanges echoed in her mind, reminding her of that thin thread between hope and despair. Fear gripped her for just a moment, but the voices of her community propelled her forward, urging her to keep speaking, to break through the remaining barriers. The festivities kicked off with a talent show, unexpected local stars emerging to share their gifts, reinforcing the warmth and pride buried beneath years of challenges. As the crowd joined in supportive cheers, Mia's heart swelled with joy. Each performance became a celebration of resilience, a reflection of their struggle intertwined with their hopes, hours passed filled with music, laughter, and stories. The mural was painted in real time, each hand that touched the canvas a representation of unity and shared dreams. Mia watched as familiar faces transformed into artistic expressions, each layer of paint taking on the essence of their community, and in that moment, as dusk painted the sky with strokes of orange and purple, Mia caught sight of the landlord. He stepped closer to the mural, eyes softening. What had once been skepticism began to shift into something resembling admiration. Mia felt the air change around her, a collective intake of breath as they all held the potential outcome of their work in their hearts. Before she knew it, the culmination of the day's energy pulled the landlord to step forward to address the crowd. "I see the love and work you've put into this," he began, voice steady but with an edge of vulnerability. "You've shown a reflection of what this community could be, not just a collection of businesses, but a living, breathing town full of life. The crowd erupted into cheers again, overwhelmed with emotion. He continued, "I will commit to working with you. You've inspired me to invest in this community not just because it's my business but because it is my home." Mia felt the tears spill from her eyes at his words. The once insurmountable wall of doubt had cracked, and something new had emerged, a promise, a partnership. As applause filled the air, she felt the warmth of shared dreams binding them all together. At that moment, it wasn't just a saved coffee shop, it was a newly forged path toward a brighter future. Mia stepped down from the podium, heart full, energy high. She was surrounded by neighbors, people she loved, respected, and fought alongside. "We did it," she whispered to Sam, who grinned back with pride. With the echoes of laughter and acceptance ringing in her ears, Mia realized they had created not just a festival but a foundation for their community that would thrive long after the last song played. It was just the beginning, her heart full of the promise that their spirits would soar. As the stars began to shine above their little town, Mia took a moment, a sacred breath, to soak it all in. She turned to face the mural, now alive with color and spirit, a testament to their collective journey and dreams coming to life. They had sparked a fire of hope, one that would guide them together for years to come. So let us keep that momentum alive. You need to subscribe now to this channel so you don't miss out on more inspiring stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support, don't wait not even one more second. True fans understand how important it is to back this channel through these actions.